We're off to the range today. We've got some unfinished business with this Ruger No1 chambered in 303 British, and I still haven't quite found a load for this rifle, and we've got a little tweaking to do on the setup, but we're going to start with load testing today and see if we can get something nailed down. And I've got a new recipe for us to try using accurate 25-20 powder. And we're primarily going to be looking for some pretty good velocities out of this. So let's get to the range and see what we've got.
There's dinner in the yard, out behind the car. Tonight we're gonna do something different. I will make the things that I know how to make. You will make something more delicious. A sweet potato pie on a flimsy paper plate. Baby, I don't think it gets much better. There isn't much to keep. We lay down and fall asleep till the morning comes around to find love.
Now some of you are going to roll your eyes at me right now, but it's chilly out here. Don't get me wrong, I understand I don't have 2 feet of snow on the ground at the moment, so it's certainly not cold, but we got a slight breeze and it's got a bite to it right now, a lot of moisture in there. But anyway, it is an absolute gorgeous morning, so let's see what we've got with this 303 British. Let's see if we can get the velocities we're looking for, and which is going to be somewhere upper 2800s. And let's see if we can get some accuracy to go along with that. That's not starting well. Something that I thought was really interesting on that last group was how we had such a drop in velocity from the cold bore shot to the second and third shots, and how our shots also dropped so much in elevation. It'll be interesting to see if we see the same thing now with this next shot group. Okay, we definitely have something going on with this load. The 2 shots that absolutely fell out the bottom on elevation, I didn't notice those while I was shooting. I wasn't looking that far down the paper looking for bullet holes when I went down to check the target. Okay, we got something going on. This load is absolutely not looking like the load for this rifle. Okay, well, that's fine. That's why we're here to test it. I think I'm going to run 3 more through here just to see if it does it again. This is just a curiosity for me at this point. After this 3-shot group, though, unless it just does something miraculous, I think we're going to call it a wrap with this load. Well, that was disappointing. Hey, we tried it. And I did fire that 3rd group, and it tightened up a lot. It's actually an 1.5-inch 4-shot group. My camera died downrange, so there wasn't even any point in me showing that. And the velocities were still just all over the map, and that just obviously was not the load for this rifle. Hey, we tried it. The question is, where do we go next? I probably should have just stopped with the very first load we tried in this rifle using IMR 4064 powder and 150 grain Spear hot core bullets. It had decent accuracy, good velocity. It would be a great hunting round in this rifle. But I wanted to do some experimenting. A big reason The big reason I have always wanted this specific rifle for so long is because it's one of the few modern rifles chambered in .303 British. And I have always suspected that .303 British could produce a lot higher velocities than we normally see from it. Okay, and the reason for that, .303 British is normally loaded to very low pressures, and that's because almost all of the rifles chambered in it are older Lee-Enfield rifles. And as fine of a rifle as those Lee-Enfields are, they just can't handle the higher pressures that modern cartridges are loaded to and then used in modern actions. Okay, well, this being a Ruger No1, it's not only a modern action, this is amongst the strongest of all of the actions. So I knew this could handle higher pressures. And I have confirmed that. The .303 can definitely go up in pressure and produce higher velocities. The downside, though, the catch-22 for me, this specific rifle is so light, especially in the front end, that it's just right on the borderline of me being able to shoot it accurately. All right, well, when I go up in pressure, to go up in velocity, I also go up in recoil, and my accuracy diminishes quickly. All right, well, I'm not going to trade accuracy for velocity. That's not even an option. Okay, and I don't even need the velocity in this rifle. It's just curiosity, we'll call it that. Okay, so then I got to thinking, well, with the modern powders we have available today, could I still come up with a load that would produce high velocities but with low pressures? So I started doing research, and I found two very fast burning powders that had some pretty darn high velocities listed for .303 and low pressures. So I wanted to try that, and I tried one over the holidays with Vitavori. It didn't work, and we just tried the accurate, and you saw how that turned out. And I've got a lot of guesses as to why. I got my suspicions here. Okay, so now what? And I'm guessing, my thoughts right now, I'm thinking just go back to the tried and true. I'm thinking let's try Varget. I mean, it's just been a great powder for many years in .303, really stable powder. It should produce just an outstanding hunting load. Okay, but I've also got one other thing I want to try. And this is so far out there, I'm not even going to say what it is. We're going to try it. If it works, I'll explain it, and it'll be interesting. And if it doesn't, well, hey, I just had a dumb idea and we tried it. So I'm going to get the loading here, and I'll spend the night working up some loads, and then first chance we get, we're going right back to the range, and we're going to give the Varget a shot, literally.
I still keep playing in little memories. The ones that stick around are the most bittersweet. I know it's getting late. The night is full of such mistakes. I was hoping that you might want to talk to me. Card table outside, still sitting there. It's been so long, barely it holds together. You can't really say what's coming tomorrow. You can only feel the changing weather. One day I'll not call if you were there, oh. Maybe it was something like a dream. There isn't much to keep. Tonight I hope I fall asleep till the morning comes around to find.
We're back at the range, and what an absolutely beautiful morning this is for doing some load testing. It's a little breezier than I'd like, but we'll be able to see what we need to see. Is the Varget going to give us a good stable hunting load? stable velocities and decent accuracy. Okay, and I do have to warn you though before we start. There's a big white van downrange. A van, a GMC to be more specific. Okay, we're not even going to talk about the van. Not our range, not our van, not our circus, not our monkeys. I would explain more, but honestly that could get me kicked off of YouTube. So we didn't see anything. We're just load testing. All right, now let's get at it. Okay, that was interesting, but that's just not what we're looking for. So we'll meet up at the shop in just a minute. We'll discuss the results and where we're going to go from here. Okay, I went over all of the data from our range trip and reviewed the footage, looked at the shot groups, shot order, went over the velocities, all of that good stuff. And we've just got a mess here, but that's okay. I think I'm finally starting to understand this rifle. And we've got three big issues. Okay, accuracy is not good. Velocity's all over the map, and this rifle's just right on the ragged edge of me being able to shoot it accurately. And I've mentioned that quite a few times. I think they're all related. And I think it all comes down to bullet selection and more specifically, bullet diameter. I had mentioned that I tried load testing with the Vitavore M133 powder, and I didn't even post my results. They were just that bad, accuracy and velocity wise. Well, I was trying it because their load data showed such impressive velocities with this powder and 303 cartridge, 150 grain bullet. Okay, well then, Accurate was showing decent velocities with 2520 powder, and it was a fast burning powder just like the Vitavore, and I was wondering, is there anything to this with fast burning powders? So we went and we tried this, and you saw the results. They were ugly. All right, so I didn't even finish the load testing. And then the third shot group, well, y'all didn't see it because my camera died downrange, but I did notice it tightened up considerably from the first two, which were just awful. And I got to thinking about that. That appeared to me to be a pressure issue, as if we were under pressure. And we shouldn't have been. We were high enough up in there within their published load data that we should have had decent results. But again, you saw what we had. All right, well, I got to thinking about that. I know there's a lot of variation in bullet diameters for 303 caliber bullets. There shouldn't be, but there is. Just like there's a lot of variation in 303 caliber bores. All right, and they should all be 311 thousandths of an inch, but they are not. Okay, so I got to wondering, what bullet did Accurate use for their load testing? And I went and looked it up, and I didn't pay much attention before, but they used a Hornady bullet. Well, Hornadys are 312 thousandths of an inch in diameter, whereas we've been testing with the Spear bullets, which are the standard 311 thousandths of an inch in diameter. The Hornady bullet that they tested with, it would have had higher pressures because the bullet's larger in diameter. Okay, so we were close to being under pressure. All right, well, that got me curious about the Vitivori. What bullet did they use? And I noticed when I was looking at their load data, they used a Lapoa bullet, but they had a model number for the bullet rather than the diameter. All right, so I went to Lapoa's website and I looked up the bullet just to see exactly what the diameter was. They actually used a 308 bullet, a standard 30 caliber, 308 thousandths of an inch in diameter for their load testing. Okay, well, my idea that was out there that I wasn't even going to mention, that, well, I didn't try it, but I was going to try a 30 caliber bullet in here just to see. Okay, I felt like we were undersized on our bullet diameter, but I don't know what the bore diameter of this is, so hey, we'll try it. And Warren had suggested I try this a little while back. Warren, I was paying attention, and as stubborn, as hard-headed as I am, hey, I will listen and give it a shot. But I didn't want to try a 308 diameter bullet because I'd always heard that the accuracy wasn't there with them. Warren had said he had had good results, so, but okay, so anyway, that's my thought, we'll try it, but I didn't because my sizing mandrel was a standard 311 thousandths of an inch diameter, and I didn't have enough neck tension with a standard 30 caliber bullet in my cases. And I tried swapping mandrels, but my 308 and 30-06 mandrels, standard 30 cals, they were a different die than my 303 British die. It wouldn't screw in there. So anyway, okay, so I got to thinking more about this on the diameters and so forth. Our pressure issues. Okay, our velocities. Our velocities were all over the map. Even when we went to the Bargett, and again, Bargett's famous for being just a really good stable powder. Our standard deviations on our shot groups today were awful. All of them were double digits. The very best one was our first shot group, which was, I believe, no, our second was most accurate, but our first shot group had a standard deviation of 19. And then I think it went to 23, and then 36, 26, and then our last one was 36 again. Okay, and we can't say our standard deviation's this based on 4 shots. We need 30 shots for an actual statistically valid sample size. All right, but we can get an idea, and we know they were horrible with just 4 shots. Really bad. Okay, but we also had a lot of variation vertically. Okay, well, how much of that was my shooting? I don't know. Okay, a little while back, we tried the lead sled and for this rifle, and my accuracy improved dramatically using the lead sled versus me just shooting off the bag. But I went back and looked at that footage, and I noticed then, and just had forgotten about it, even with the lead sled when we were load testing, as we went up in powder charge, our point of impact kept going up. Okay, and that's normal. We start off our load testing, we've got our lowest powder charge. As we increase our powder charge, we get higher pressures, more velocities, and our point of impact tends to get a little higher. It'll rise a little bit. But it didn't rise a little bit when we were doing our load testing, even in the lead sled. It was rising 4 and 5 inches, maybe 6. It was a lot. Well, I got to looking today, and then I was noticing the shot groups from where we just tried to Varget. Those last 2 groups, and as we were going up in charge weight, our standard deviations for the most part were getting worse. The accuracy was getting worse, and I wasn't sure how much of that was just recoil from the rifle, and again, me being this being on the edge of me being able to shoot it accurately, but we ended up, our last two shot groups were 4.5 inches, but it's almost all vertical variation. Okay, well, that's what we were seeing in our change of point of impact with the lead sled. Now, the groups were a lot smaller with the lead sled, but our point of impact was still shifting by a tremendous amount as we were going up in charge weight. Okay, now I know, I'm convinced my shooting is a factor in this, but I'm also convinced that what all's going on with the velocities and the variation in velocities is also a big factor in this. And even today, I noticed that almost every shot were, well, generally as we would start the 4-shot group, we fire our first shot, and generally our velocities were increasing as we were going through our charge, or through those 4 shots. And that shouldn't happen. I mean, you might see it sometimes, but it shouldn't be happening like we were seeing it do today. But it was. Okay, well, our shot's point of impact was almost always higher with a higher velocity shot, almost every time. Okay, so I don't even know what that means, honestly. What I'm thinking, though, I'm thinking if I find the bullet to match this bore. Oh, and I did some research real quick since I just got really curious all of a sudden on all of this. What is the bore diameter that Ruger put in the #1s on 303 British, and was there anything out there about that? That's something we don't normally hear about, but when I did research, there was a lot of stuff about it. It turns out that the Ruger #1s are actually very well known for having oversized bore diameters. They generally run 314 to 316 thousandths of an inch. Okay, now I think I'm starting to figure this out. The 311 thousandths bullets generally just aren't going to work in this rifle because there's too much gas going around them because it's too small of a bullet diameter for this bore. The 308 diameter bullet, I think, would have been worse. I wouldn't know to try it, but I don't think it's even worth trying with my mandrels like they are. Okay, so I think if I go to a Hornady bullet, and I'm not a big fan of Hornady after some things they did with some mandates not long ago. They're still on my naughty list, but I think if I try a Hornady bullet in here, our results will improve. And in all of them, I think this rifle will be easier for me to shoot. And again, I still haven't put this together. I haven't connected it as to why me shooting this, I've got, we'll just say 5 inches variation vertically on my point of impact. Why putting this in a lead sled tightens up the group? Well, that makes sense. The lead sled's just going to be more stable than me. But why does the shot groups from starting charge weights to finish charge weights, why does the point of impact shift by the amount of variation, roughly, that I'm seeing in the variation on me shooting? I think if I can get the velocities consistent in this rifle, I think this rifle will be much easier for me to shoot it accurately. I guess is where I'm going with this. I don't think I'll be near as much of a factor in this equation. Now, I don't quite understand why that matters, but anyway, the whole thing's just becoming very interesting to me. Let's put it that way. Basically, I've got two options at this point. I can just stop right here and just go hunting and pick one of the best charge weights that we found with the loads that we've tried thus far. The IMR 4064 powder with the 150 grain spear that we tried. The first load I tried in this rifle, some decent results with it. Okay, and then with the Varget we just tried, I had one shot group. The second group was 1.25 inches. Okay, mid 2500s on velocities, even though there were just a ton of variation in the velocities. That would work for a hunting load in this rifle. And this being a short, compact, fairly lightweight rifle, this is just an ideal woods gun or stalking rifle. Okay, either one of those powders would work. All right, option two, I'd just stay on this and try to figure this rifle out. Which honestly, that's about what I got to do, because this is a mystery at this point, and I can't stand an unsolved mystery. So, as bad as I hate to say this, I guess I'm going to order some Hornady bullets. I've already got some on hand, but not for 303, and I'm trying real hard not to buy anything Hornady at the moment. I'm just still mad at them over some mandate stuff they mandated. They're on my naughty list. All right, but they're the only ones that make a 312 thousandths inch diameter bullet, at least that I can get. Okay, so if this bore is running what I've read, 314 to 316 thousandths of an inch in diameter, the Hornadys still aren't going to be great, I wouldn't think, but there should be a big improvement over the 311 thousandths inch diameter Spears. Okay, well, the only way we're going to know is to get the bullets and see, so I guess I better get to ordering. And while we're at it, I need to do a little tweaking on the rifle too, so that's what we're going to work on next time. God bless and have a great day.
Oh, I still keep me these little ones that stick around are the most bittersweet. I know it's getting late. The night is full of such mistakes, but I was hoping that you might